You downloaded that time blocking app, filled in your whole week. Every hour was accounted for. By Wednesday, your calendar was blank and you were running on instinct again. It might not have been that app. Maybe it was a coaching program you finished but couldn't sustain, or a leadership book that you highlighted and never applied. It doesn't matter what it was. The system worked. For a few days, you believed it would stick. Then, something older and quieter took the wheel back. You might have called it a failure of discipline. I want to say, nope. Yesterday, we named what was hiding underneath the packed calendar. Today, let's go past the strategy to the identity executing it. Every system you've tried actually worked. The question is, why couldn't it stick in someone as capable as you? Think about the last strategy you tried: time management, delegation, whatever it was. You understood it well enough to explain it to someone else. And for a while, you even executed it. And then that old rhythm came back. The strategy? Fine. The version of you running it? Never updated. There's an exercise called the dollar per hour audit. You list everything you did last week and assign each task a dollar value. Most people discover that the bulk of their time goes to $10 an hour tasks. Meanwhile, the $100 work keeps getting deferred. 15 minutes in the audit, and the problem staring you right in the face. Knowing the problem, that's never been your issue. You already know which work matters most. The identity holding the pen still believes it's the person who does the $10 work. Letting go of those tasks would mean becoming someone unfamiliar. And for a high performer, that feels like failure. I've seen it in myself and in every coaching engagement. Someone arrives with a strategy that's perfectly sound. They understand it. They even tried it. What they haven't done? Update the self-concept that's supposed to run it. The identity running the strategy is still loyal to an old version, earning worth through effort, refusing to let go of control. If you just thought of a project sitting half finished on your desk or some framework you downloaded and never sustained, that's exactly what I'm naming. I worked with someone who had 12 unfinished projects on her desk. All of them are active, all at different stages. She could explain the strategy for each one. She knew exactly what step came next. None of them crossed the finish line. She called it a focus problem. Nope. Her identity needed to stay in motion, so finishing meant the work would be measured and it could fall short. I asked her one simple question: what happens after you finish one? She went quiet for a long time. Those projects weren't stalled because strategy failed. They stalled because completing them would make her visible. And that wasn't a place her old identity could handle. Strategy didn't fail. You were running it from a version of you hadn't gotten its OS update. When a strategy finally sticks, the result? It's quiet. You delegate a task without checking on it twice and protect the 90-day work without guilt. The urge to jump back in? Yeah, it still shows up. But for the first time, you can let it pass. The difference isn't the strategy. What changed is the self that is running it. The person holding the calendar finally caught up to the life the calendar was designed for. That shift, it costs. The version of you who wore the overloaded schedule as proof of commitment won't go quietly. You're going to grieve that version. That's the price of the upgrade. One question to carry into your day. If the strategy was never the problem, what was the self running it still protecting? If you've been blaming yourself every time a strategy didn't stick, that's a misdiagnosis. The conversation you need isn't about a better system. It's about the identity that keeps outrunning them. That's what the no cost identity clarity call is for. One conversation. Link is in the show notes. Tomorrow, what happens when the strategy does work? When you get the thing you wanted, but it still doesn't seem to close the gap. Stay tuned. You didn't fail the strategy. The strategy was simply ahead of who you were at the time. Not a judgment. That's your starting point. With strength and heart, I'm Shawn Michael. Stay close. We spend a lot of time on this show talking about the threshold, the space between the identity that got you here and the one required for the new ground. You're listening to this because something in your current architecture is fracturing. You're running the performer playbook or the striver protocol, and it's costing you an immense amount of energy to maintain the facade. The external results are there, but the internal friction, it's burning you out. Most people will let this episode end and go right back into the performance. They'll put the mask back on for their next Zoom meeting and keep relying on the identity that's actively caging them. I'm looking for the leader who's done performing. If you're ready to look at the structural identity collapse happening beneath the surface, we need to map your architecture. Go to the link in the show notes, book your identity clarity call. We'll identify the exact survival identity running your calendar and begin the shift into conscious leadership. Stop performing, start becoming.